All right. Would you like to count us down?
In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Did you ever think when the hearse goes by that someday you are going to die?
I don't even know this song. Like, at all.
I found it about an hour ago. This thing started playing in the wrong part of the song, and I don't know why, because it was at the beginning. But I don't know what happened with that. It said it was at the beginning, but I think it started playing in the middle verse. But anyway,
But yeah,
welcome.
that's
that. Yeah, it's called "The Town That Dreaded Sundown." So
makes sense.
I was hoping you would catch him say "The Town That Dreaded Sundown" at the end of the chorus, but I don't think he did.
No.
Anyway, welcome to episode 63 of Santa Mira After Dark. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Steven.
And would you like to tell the audience what spring film we're doing today?
We're doing The Town That Dreaded Sundown from 2014.
Yes. Originally thought to be a spring movie by Steven.
Because the original one takes place during prom season.
Yeah, because I picked the original one because I thought it took place in the summer. I picked that last summer, and we were like, "Oh, this isn't a summer movie. This is a spring movie."
Well, you were closer than I was.
So the idea was to do this movie during the spring, but unfortunately, the opening scene takes place in Halloween night, and this Christmas film.
There's Christmas tones in the movie. And
I'm not sure at what time period this movie ends, but yeah, it's
not in the springtime.
Definitely not.
Arguably, the last scene could be considered springtime.
It's, for some reason, I still thought it was like Christmas at the end of the movie. But yeah, regardless, we miscalculated the season in which this this movie takes place in. But yeah, the Town That Dreaded Sundown, 2014, is directed by Alfonso Gomez Rejon. I think is how you say his name. It stars Addison Timlin, Veronica Cartwright, and Anthony Anderson, who very very random role because he's in a lot of comedy films, and I guess he was in Scream 4, so I guess he just decided at some point he was going to do some horror films. Yeah, so
Dennis O'Hare was in the movie. I like him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was trying to. Who plays Charles?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the best way to describe this film is that it's a not quite a remake, not quite a sequel, but sort of a spin-off of the original Town That Dreaded Sundown, because it takes place in a world where the killings that inspired that movie actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And this town, apparently once a year, they have the Town That Dreaded Sundown Day, where they screen the film for the entire town. And
I like it.
yeah, I like it too. But yeah, so I mean, I guess that's the best way to describe it, is that it's not. I mean, kind of a sequel, kind of a remake, kind of a spin-off. A I, I guess there's like a copycat killer is the idea, that
Yeah.
like someone who is either like seeking revenge for the killings that originally happened, or one reason or another. But we'll get there and try to make sense of the motives that they give, because um, once they do explain the Sackhead murders, they're not the most not the best reasoning, in my opinion. Um, so what do we think of the Town That Dreaded Sundown?
No.
um, yeah, I think this is probably the first time in a while that we've done a movie where both of us aren't too fond of it. Because even when we did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new one that just came out, like, I actually thought it was like, it wasn't great, but you know, it was a fun movie.
It's
Didn't
good for a
nec-
one-time viewing.
Yeah, you didn't necessarily like it as much as I did, but I thought it was pretty good. So I think we're both in agreement that this movie is uh not too good.
And you remember last week I said that it was gonna it'll probably start off strong, but then it's gonna end bad based on people that wrote it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So what are the writers known for? Refresh my memory.
The one wrote Riverdale, Sabrina, and Katie Keene, or he directed
Okay.
those or whatever. And the other one did American Horror Story, Glee, Scream Queens.
Okay. Yeah. I do remember you.
I saw both of their names attached to it, so I was like, "Oh, I'll probably like it, but
Yeah, I do remember you
I might
mentioning
mess
that.
up." I
So,
might mess up, and they inevitably did.
I mean, let's I mean, we're gonna delve into this plot and kind of rip on it, because it it's very strange. But before we do that, let's do what I do, and let's start with love. So, like, what are some good things that this movie does?
It had a strong opening.
Um, yeah, I did enjoy the opening, especially that shot of the first kill where he's telling what's the main girl's name, Jamie, to look away while he's killing the guy that she's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool.
I really thought that was going to be like a movie, the
Mhm.
way it was shot, until I saw her crawling under the screen. And I was like, "Oh, okay." It was real life.
Like one of those scenes, like in Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Or
Like one,
or like a movie within a movie.
like it starts off as a fake movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. That would be very meta, though, if they're like in this movie, they're making a sequel to The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah, because
Probably
they did that later on in the movie. There was like a really quick scene.
Oh yeah, I really like that, where it kind of transitions. It like kind of pans left onto the house, and then
Yeah.
we see them filming the original movie. I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
that was a really cool scene.
It's kind of weird because it happened one time.
Yeah,
I wish they would have done it a few more times.
Yeah, I agree with that because there are a lot of scenes where it's kind of like paying tribute to the original, which I thought
Hmm.
is another cool thing that this movie does. Is that like we have that scene where the Phantom Killer is stalking that girl through the like the cornfield or whatever,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah, that's another thing I was gonna mention.
that happened in the original, and the trumpet killing
Hmm.
that happened in the original. And yeah, that would have been a cool thing where it's like if when they're paying tribute to the original killings, like we get like a brief clip of like the filming of the original film or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
why they only do it once.
yeah, it was
So
like a weird decision to make.
yeah. Um,
Now the field scene is what the sunflower scene in Texas Chainsaw should have been.
yeah. I really like that too. Um, like she sees the scarecrow and screams, and then he's like on the other side of the field, and the
Hmm.
scarecrow kind of looks like him, so she screams, and then like that draws the attention to her. I thought that was pretty cool.
And I like the above shots when she was crawling and he was walking.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I think other than those few things, like this this movie is just like average at best, like if that, because it's just like I don't know. I this is probably my third time seeing this movie.
Mm.
And I remember the first time I saw it. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that was really good." And then it just like as it went along, I'm like, "Yeah, this." Like the more times I watch it, I'm like, "Yeah, this isn't as good as I once thought it was."
Well, apparently I did watch it some other time because I remembered like half the death scenes, and I remember the ending, and I remember the beginning. So
I think
don't know when.
I think maybe the reason why I don't like it now is because I finally saw the original one,
Hmm.
and the original one is it's not really a slasher, which I think we were both surprised by the first time we saw it.
There was like
It's
a really cool mix of like a horror movie and a western movie.
like a crime movie
Yeah,
and you totally scrap all that and just make this like a generic slasher film, and like, oh, here's the big reveal at the end where oh, plot twist, so and so is the killer, and they totally threw away the whole idea of like the multiple genres that the original had and just made
yeah.
it just a generic slasher. And I think that might be another reason uh, why it's significantly worse than the original.
Hmm.
Um, and it's unfortunate because there's like we pointed out some good things, and there's like potential here. It just doesn't. It for one reason or another, it just doesn't work out.
Doesn't deliver.
Um,
The only thing it was missing was singing.
it needed a musical number.
Yeah, because that's what the both directors are known for.
Yeah. Um, since we mentioned it, I was like I just have this idea where cool subplot in here would be like, oh, this movie company's coming to town and they're filming a sequel to The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Kind of
And
like the podcast people
yeah,
from Halloween.
that would have been neat. And it's
Hmm.
like oh, um these killings or this movie crew has inspired the return of the Phantom Killer, and it's like, oh, is he a ghost who's angry that they're mocking his legacy, or is it like an angry townsperson or something like that? Like, I think that would have been a better story than whatever they have going on here.
Hmm. No, at the end when they revealed the killer,
Yeah.
I was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, like I would have to go through my notes to even tell you who the one killer is, because I have no idea. Off the top of my head, I forget who it is.
Yeah, spoiler alert. There are two, which whatever.
The one is so I know who the one is, but the original killer who is like framing the other two, like I don't like I don't know who is the other killer. You could spoil it, I guess.
There was I thought it was the one that guy that got shot, and then the cop.
Oh yeah, it is a cop. Yeah, okay. And it's her. It's. I mean, I guess we could start going through the movie because we'll just um, kind of spoil the ending from the beginning. And I'm assuming anyone who is watching or who is listening to this podcast has seen this movie, because I don't think anyone in 2022 is looking up this podcast and being like, "Oh, I wonder what if I should watch The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Let me listen to a podcast that's as long as the movie." But
Yeah.
so yeah, spoilers for The Town That Dreaded Sundown. We're gonna go through the plot and kind of rip on it. I guess before we get there, I wanted to complain about one more thing. What is this color palette that they chose in this movie? So, like, so I watched it on Tubi, and
Mhm.
I didn't know if it was just because Tubi is free. I didn't know if it was like just a bad transfer to Tubi. But were there a lot of scenes where it was just like yellow?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's like the sunlight,
Yeah.
but like I hate it because it just looked like pea color. Like it wasn't a good kind of yellow. It was just terribly lit, and they do it a ton of times where it just looks this ugly yellow color.
Yeah, I prefer like blue tints or grayish tints.
Yeah, I mean I don't know if that's just a personal preference or if that's like just how it was badly lit. But and another thing I want to complain about, and we'll get to my complaints with him, but Anthony Anderson's character, who plays Lone Wolf Morales, who is the deputy that comes to town to kind of solve the killings, I guess. Which I think there's a Morales in the original film too. I think that's just a tribute to that. But like that,
We need spark plug.
yeah, we did need Sparkplug. But that Lone Wolf Morales character, he's I have a few complaints when we get to his plot points, but he's a terrible character in this movie. Arguably one of the worst cops in any slasher movie ever, because he just sits down and watches the movie for half the movie. It's like
Oh yeah.
he needs to watch the original movie. And he does it for like half the movie.
He even said that, believe it or not, I've never seen the original movie, and then he goes to watch the movie instead of just police work.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
So we open up with a Texas Chainsaw Massacre like opening with like the narrator coming in and telling us about the original killings, which I thought was a nice touch as well. It's especially for like a film that takes place in Texas. It might have been a nice tribute to that original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Not sure if that was intentional, but they tell us that every year this town has the Town That Dreaded Sundown Day, where they screen this entire film that is inspired by actual killings that took place in this town, for the entire town to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure how accurate that like would be in a real life situation, where like if there were these slayings from an unknown killer like 60 years ago, would we be kind of celebrating it and like reminiscing on
Yeah, that
how,
would be
on how
in
our
bad taste.
on how our great grandma was slaughtered by the Phantom Killer? Like, oh, let me go watch the movie on that. Um, I mean, I feel like it kind of brings a bad omen if you like, because I feel like that just inspires other people to do it, and I don't know if that's just me who is like a weird slasher movie fan, but it's like
Mhm.
it like for certain people that might inspire things because it's like, oh, they they kind of celebrate this guy who slaughtered, you know, 5 or 6 people or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So like maybe if I do that, they'll celebrate me too. I don't know. I just feel like it's a bad a bad omen to be doing something like this. But
Yeah.
regardless, it is Halloween night. Apparently it's the town of dreaded
Unfortunately.
Sundown night. um, yeah, despite what we originally thought, it's not the springtime. It's Halloween night. Um, we meet Corey and Jamie will be our protagonists through the film. And yeah, she's not she's just a bland protagonist. Like, um, I mean, I saw this theory that it's kind of very off topic, but it's like, so the reason Victoria Justice's career never took off,
Hmm.
and I'm connecting this somehow. So the reason her career never really took off is because in Victorious, she was the the girl who was responsible for introducing us to more interesting people. You know,
Mhm.
because like she's this normal girl that just goes to the school, and she's kind of thrown into this school where there's over the top people doing performances and everything, and like her role is to just introduce us to people who are more interesting than her. And I feel like that is how Jamie's character is, because she's just this bland protagonist who has absolutely nothing interesting about her, and she's just here to get us from point A to point B, and then we're going to meet other characters who are more interesting than her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I feel like we can.
Although I did like Tori.
Yeah, I mean, Victoria Justice isn't bad at all, but I feel like going forward on this podcast, if there's a situation like this, we could just call it the Victoria Justice effect, where it's like
Yes.
there's a non-interesting character who is just whose job is to just introduce us to people who are more interesting than her.
Mm-hmm.
But Craig left early, but that's okay.
Very early.
Yeah. So there's even a pastor who is promoting his church, and he's pretty much saying what we're saying, that like real people died and this might not be a good idea. And he's like, you guys all need to come to church this Sunday
Mm-hmm.
to
One of those.
repent your sins and give me money, and
And you won't get murdered.
yeah. So
Which actually is like a little tiny plot in the movie, because once stuff does happening.
he kind of pushes things forward more than
Mm-hmm.
the Phantom Killer does himself. But so Jamie's like uncomfortable with this movie or whatever, so it's like one of those situations where it's like, oh, I kind of want to go home. I need to get out of here, and
Your cliche horror thing.
yeah, and they just watched the movie where it specifically tells you don't go to Makeout Reef because you're gonna get slaughtered by the Phantom Killer.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they do. They go to make out Reef and and do exactly what people in the movie have done. And lo and behold, we meet the Phantom Killer for the first time in this movie. It's actually a pretty cool shot of him just in the woods, like stalking this couple. Like so,
Yeah,
if like I don't want to say this, if you put a killer in a movie and they have a sack head, like I'm automatically on board with this killer. Unfortunately, this movie uh, lost all the points that it automatically gained, but
it did.
but for the most part, like the original film and like Friday the 13th Part 2, even the opening scene in the Friday the 13th remake, I thought looked very cool because like anytime you put a sack over a killer's head, I'm on board. Make a pause. Anyway, so like they go to leave and the Phantom breaks the window and tells them to get out of the car, and
I don't like the Phantom's voice.
um I didn't mind it. I just thought it was because they could have easily done like a very raspy like Batman voice, and like I feel like that might have been over the top. Like he's just trying to hide his voice by just roaring and calling that a voice.
Yeah.
I didn't really mind it because I like the just the normal guy with a normal voice thing. But what I did think was weird is that he kind of playing the role as a mentor, and he's like, "Do your parents know where you're at?" And you know, it's strange because he tells Corey to take his pants off, and I'm like,
He does.
time I'm seeing this, I'm like, oh, are we going here? Like, what are we doing? I mean, I think the idea was just so they could switch pants with, you know, the hitchhiker that they replace him with. I guess. I think that's the idea behind it. But it's like,
yeah, I suppose.
At face value, it's like, why'd you ask him to take his pants off? Maybe to check for weapons or something, but he doesn't even do that. But I don't know. But anyway, he tells Jamie to turn around, and we see in like the silhouette from the brake lights on the car that the Phantom Killer is stabbing Corey repeatedly, and Jamie is just forced to watch the reflection. I'm sorry, the silhouette, and then she finally like can't handle it. She turns around and tells him to stop, and then he's like you turned around or something, and then he like chases her through the woods.
Yeah,
it is more of Jason Voorhees style than the original, because do you remember those scenes in the original where they're like chasing him through the woods and like he's just running like a normal guy? But here it's like we're just walking through the woods like Michael Myers or Jason does, and I don't know. I think it just ruins it because
yeah, I think so too.
this is just supposed to be a guy, you know. It's not like he's supernatural or anything, and even like in those early Jason movies, like he's running through the woods because he's just a normal guy, and then like as the series goes on, he becomes a zombie and all that, and then he starts walking. But like, Michael Myers has like this supernatural edge to him, where it's like you kind of question if he's supernatural or not. But this guy, like, he's just a guy. He's not really like anything really, and he's just walking through the woods like a normal guy does. And you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it ruined it, but
yeah, I think I didn't like that either.
So he catches up to Jamie, and he says, "This is for Mary. Make them remember." And he stabs her in the stomach. I bring this question to you because I don't remember, even though I just watched the movie 2 days ago. Who is Mary?
Mary. Oh Lord.
Yeah, watched the movie less than 48 hours ago, and I can't remember who
Me
Mary
too.
is.
I watched it Thursday night.
Like,
Was there a Mary in the original movie?
I think there was. I think there was because she's going through like the victim list or something of the original killings, and I think there is someone named Mary. I think
Mary
that's.
Shaw. No, that's a different movie.
Let me just pull up the original film real quick on IMDb. It says there is no one named Mary, so
No, that was a good movie.
Mary Shaw.
Dead Silence.
Oh yeah, that is a good movie. I'm afraid to rewatch that though because I liked The Town That Dreaded Sundown originally, and I didn't
Well,
like
that
that.
had that was the puppets, so it was cool.
So, I mean, so the title card is pretty cool. I don't know why. It just, I don't know. I liked it. It's really nothing special, but I thought it looked pretty cool. Um, and then it shows Jamie walking into the drive-in, and she collapses, and it's a cool shot where she's kind of like Scream 2, where Jada Pinkett Smith is screaming under the screen and dying, and it's
Yeah.
Jamie dying underneath The Town That Dreaded Sundown, but she's dying during the iconic trumpet scene from the original.
I like it.
Then we cut to the next day, I guess. Jamie was stabbed in the stomach and is immediately being interviewed by police. And I'm not sure, I can't remember. Is she in a hospital bed or is she actually in the police station?
Hospital.
Okay, because for some reason I remembered it being the police station, and I was like, wait, how did she get police station if she was just stabbed?
They're around this town.
There's that statue of I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there's a statue in town of this Texan or whatever, and he like somebody put the sack over his head, and it says like remember or something on there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was confused because I don't know where this comes back later on where they say that it's like they start blaming the guy of who they made the statue for, and it's like we need to get rid of that statue or this is going to keep happening. And I don't know if that's just like a random conspiracy nut who throws that idea out, because it's just brought up by one guy and then just never mentioned again.
Probably.
So Jamie's being interviewed by this group of annoying cops. They accuse her of being on drugs, and they pretty much say like, you know, we can't do anything for you. We're just going to put someone in front of your house and call it a day.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, they're staying in front of her house for months.
Yeah, like as long as these killings go on, like someone is in front of that house. Because I guess she's just like what the Phantom Killer is using to spread his message to make people remember. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense why it would be her, because she serves no connection to anybody in the original movie.
Mm-mm.
Like you could be like, oh, this is the granddaughter of the last victim, and the Phantom Killer wants to carry on his legacy, and I don't know. Could have did something like that, but they don't. So we kind of get refreshed on the original movie. Jamie's grandma, her name's Lillian, kind of talks about the original attacks. It's like I guess the idea was that the movie brought back a bunch of like bad feelings in the town. And once again, it begs the question: if the movie brings back bad memories, why are you playing it every year?
Yeah.
um,
Very good
it,
question.
and it is kind of like just a refresh on the original movie. Like everybody was leaving the doors unlocked, and then as the killings happened, like people didn't trust their neighbors or anybody, and the killer was never caught. So people were uneasy for years, and I guess I guess those feelings are starting to come back now that the Phantom Killer has started attacking again.
Yeah.
And then Jamie takes it upon herself to do more research about the movie, and I think okay, so this is what I have. So I guess Mary was a victim of the original killer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have in my notes that she's going through, she's like looking up a database or something of like the victims in the original movie, and and there is one named Mary. So I think that is the idea.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Jamie ends up going to Corey's funeral, and this is the first time I noticed that this movie gets very yellow. She's like, she goes to the funeral, and her mom, or I'm sorry, Corey's mom blames her for him dying and calls her a slut and all this and that, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's very yellow and very just this disgusting color that I absolutely hate, and
Disgusting.
and I don't know why. So this is another thing this movie does. It introduces people only to have them be killed 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
So we meet this girl named Kendra, who is going to the airport to pick up her boyfriend Daniel. This is when we jump ahead to Thanksgiving. So we are like as of right now, this is it's reached from Halloween to Thanksgiving, and I guess
Yep.
he's coming home for, I don't know if he had just time off or what, I don't know how that works, but it's Kendra and Daniel. So they have probably the most rigorous sex scene I've ever seen in a horror film.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. It's just very aggressive. And she's like switching positions, and it's like we're in the town that dreaded Sundown. Like we're in a Blumhouse slasher film. Can we cool it down a little bit?
They can't.
So I guess he leaves the hotel room when they're done to go get snacks out of the vending machine or something. And it has to be a random attack, because I don't think the reasoning for this ever comes back in the movie. The Phantom Killer has just like cut off Daniel's head, and Kendra is in the room, and he like throws it through the window. And yeah, it's just a stupid slasher scene, I guess.
Yeah, this is the one I did remember when she jumped out the window and broke her leg.
Yeah.
And she ran to the car to try to escape, only to be met with a Black Christmas 2006 death.
Yeah, it's one of those kills where just blood splatters in the car for no.
All over the
So,
window.
yeah, it's like, what exactly did you do to achieve that effect? And then these two characters are just quickly removed from the movie. They're here at the airport, then they have that very intense sex scene, and then they're just quickly removed and forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm curious to how much they got paid to be in this movie just for something like that, because It's like, hey, we'll give you $100 to film these two scenes real quick. So Jamie ends up getting a call from who she thinks is Corey. I guess the Phantom has taken Corey's phone. Maybe that's why he asked him to take his pants off.
I guess so.
Um,
So it's still to be determined.
yeah, I guess, I don't know. We never really find out, but and I guess he claims that he's going to keep killing people until she makes the whole town remember who he is and what happened. Instructions are very like unclear, and the only reason she's not telling people is because the cops are like, we need to keep this under wraps, because
Yeah.
but it's like, on the other hand, like the whole town just saw this girl like get stabbed at the screening of the town, the dreaded Sundown. Like, if you're telling me this town is small, like word is going to get around fast. Like, oh, did you hear about that that girl and her boyfriend that were stabbed at that movie?
I can't believe it.
they're saying it was the Phantom. But I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that, especially because we grew up in a small town, and it's like,
Yeah.
if we're having a screening of a movie about a killer, and then that killer kills someone at the screening, like, we're all gonna know about it. Or it's like, hey, I wasn't Corey in school today. Like, he hasn't been in school for 3 weeks. I hope he's okay. Yeah, I don't understand the thought process behind. This has to be the dumbest town in America.
Yeah, I don't think I understand either. Texarkana.
Yeah. The cop has a creepy line. Because Jamie does go to the cops, and she's like, hey, this guy's saying I need to tell everybody what's going on. Maybe I should, so he stops killing people. And the cop is like, no, we don't want anything to go public. And he has this creepy line where he says that everyone in Texarkana has some kind of blood on their hands. And my question to you is the cop who said this, is this the guy who's revealed to be the killer at the end?
Oh, that would make sense.
I think that's what happens. Because for some reason I forgot who the killer was, even though I saw this movie 3 times now. And apparently I still can't grasp the idea of who the killer is, because
Yeah, I don't remember who said that line.
it's just...
But...
the reveal of the killer is just so random that it's like, it's like, who is this guy? I think
wish I wouldn't have revealed it.
I think it's Chief Deputy. Oh my god, I can't say it. Chief Deputy Tillman is revealed to be the killer at the end. So
I like Cheap Deputy.
I mean, I guess in this town they probably are cheap deputies. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has that line, and it's kind of foreshadowing like that he's the killer, and and then we get a montage of the town preparing, as if they're going to war or something. But this was very reminiscent of the original film, because there are a few cool scenes of like the town boarding up their windows and everything.
Yeah.
And there's this cool shot where they're practicing at the shooting range, and they're shooting like pictures of the Phantom Killer.
Extra.
I thought that was pretty cool. It is kind of extra, but I mean, I feel like Haddonfield at this point would be pretending to shoot Michael Myers all the time. So
Yeah.
I do understand it. And then they have a town meeting that is led in prayer, because we're in Texas and we're in Arkansas, so
That type of culture, I guess.
yeah. And they kind of go over like basic basic ideas that people should have in a time like this, like Everyone's like, oh, the Phantom has come back, and they're like, no, he'd be over 100 years old if it was the same guy. It's probably not him. And they talk about not showing the movie and things of that nature. One of the guy, like we said, blames the blames the statue and is like, we need to take down that statue of that racist. Which, I'm all for removing
Problematic statues.
Yeah, exactly.
Me too.
If you were a slave owner or something, we probably don't need to remember you.
Yeah, we don't need your statue polluting the parks and whatnot.
Yeah. Which kind of like, I mean, it has nothing to do with this movie, but we're kind of like, because like the Washington Monument, like I think George Washington owned slaves. I'm not 100% sure of that, but do we just rename that, or do we just tear it down?
I think we could rename it.
Yeah, I feel like if you rename it in like honor of, these people that went through, like hard times during slavery and things like that.
I think that they could name it. I think the streaming service Peacock should buy it.
How do you say that?
Name it the Peacock Tower or Peacock Monument, because the pictures that people have taken with that statue.
Oh yeah,
because I've been there and I've seen people doing that.
We went to this. It was like a park or zoo thing in South Carolina. It's like this weird thing where they have it. Like part of it's a zoo, part of it is a, like a walkway with flowers and everything, and like, it's a really cool place. But there's just like this one part of it where it's just a huge Debbie Downer, where it's just like they have like houses that slaves used to live in, and like, it's like, oh, if you push this button, you could hear songs that slaves used to sing. And it's like, oh man. I mean, it's just it kind of brings down the mood of this park, but I mean, I understand why people do it, to like pay tribute to people who went through the bad times of slavery, but
yeah, we could tear the statue down.
Yeah, apparently, I mean, not apparently, but obviously, this statue is the thing that brought the Phantom Killer back. Trying to tie it back to this movie a little bit, but
and at the end, some people said it was demons too.
Oh yeah. So anyway, Jamie goes to the city hall to dig up archives of the Phantom. This is where we meet her love interest through the rest of the movie, named Nick.
And I thought that he was the killer.
I feel like that would have been a little bit too obvious.
Yeah, it would have been.
Because he is kind of creepy, because he's like, yeah, I watched you when we were in class together last year. And she's like, I don't even know you. And he's just like, I was hoping, or I always wanted to talk to you, but I never did. It's like one of those things. So I think he was maybe a little bit too creepy to be the killer. But yeah, I thought that too. I was like, this guy, he has some red flags. He might be
killer-esque.
Might be the type of guy to put a bag over his head and go kill people.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, while Jamie and Nick are digging up documents, we meet Texas Ranger Lone Wolf Morales. He's been brought into town to take over this investigation.
AKA watch a movie.
And there's this brief scene where they're going through, they're like reviewing the case, and they call out this guy by the name of Sparkplug, which I thought was a nice little tribute to the to the original film.
Yeah.
And I'm still sticking to my theory that Sparkplug was the killer in the original film, and he was just an idiot messing up the case.
Yeah, I like that theory.
I especially like that scene where he kind of just shows up and wrecks the car.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're hot on the trails of the Phantom Killer, and he just wrecks the car. Um, so I guess that somehow they have original like original footage of the killer. I wasn't sure if they were talking about this killer or the original, but he's like, I want to see that footage, and I want to see the original movie because, believe it or not, I've never seen it. Um,
Terrible.
yeah. Um, there's a research montage that Jamie's doing, and there's this guy named Benjamin Sewell, who is the guy they think was involved with the original killings.
Mm-hmm.
It's never really confirmed that that's who it was, but I guess they did arrest him, and he died in prison or something. And once he was arrested for an unrelated charge, the killing stopped. So
Yeah.
that is the theory
The
that the town is running with.
ultimate theory.
And then this is where Jamie gets an email from the killer, and this email is strange because as I was reading this, I was like, well, this kind of contradicts what he said earlier, because he says something like, I just want my soul to rest in peace, and I need people to remember me, and that's how it happens, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, despite what you may believe, I love my neighbors. And it's like, no, you don't.
Mm-mm. That's how you kind of know that it was fake.
Yeah. Because I was like, I didn't know it was fake the first time I watched it, but I was like, well, that kind of just contradicts everything he just said. Then Jamie takes her Benjamin Sewell research to the police. I guess Benjamin died last year, so he was in prison for years, I guess, and the killing stopped. And she's like, oh, well, it might be his son because, his dad was falsely accused of being the killer, so, like, this new guy is probably his son or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the police are like, we already ran with that investigation because it's kind of very obvious. But Benjamin Sewell's son died 2 years ago in a bar fight, so it's not him. And they're kind of back to the drawing board.
Yeah, all the theories are shot down.
Yeah, but it's like those things where it's like you think you have like hardcore proof of something, and then it just instantly, it's like, no, it's
No, you're wrong.
not even close.
Try again.
Yeah. So there's an interesting line by the radio host. Did you catch this? It was I forget who's driving. I think it might be Nick. No, I'm sorry. It's Jamie, because Nick's at the house already. Jamie's driving and she's listening to the radio. The radio host is like, it's the Texas High Tigers versus Arkansas High Razorbacks.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a real bloodbath. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, do you not know what's going on right now?
They probably don't. Or maybe that's why they said it, because they do know what's going on.
Maybe, but either way, it's like either educate yourself as to what's going on, or watch your phrasing, because
Yeah.
terrible. So Nick is at Jamie's house. Jamie's grandmother, like, awkwardly
Eavesdrop.
Yeah, and she wants to know, like, Nick's life plans, I guess. I think they might do that because maybe they're trying to convince us that Lillian is the killer to get Jamie out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Because she is kind of like pushing her to move away and go to college.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that really works very well, because it also, like, doesn't come back at all. And I don't know if that's what they were trying to do. It just doesn't work.
This movie has a lot of things that don't work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so this is where we get that awkward scene where Jamie is like, "Why are you helping me?" I guess Nick works at the library or something where they keep these records. He's like, "I'm helping you because I always wanted to talk to you."
Adorable.
I was gonna say that's weird, but okay.
No, it is.
And we get some backstory on Nick. This is like another one of those things where it's like kind of trying to show us that, oh, this guy's kind of weird, so maybe it is him. But his father committed suicide, and his mom is in a mental hospital. And yeah, it's like, well, this guy has some demons, so maybe, maybe he finally snapped and he's living a double life as Phantom Killer.
And he also asks her out to for the victims.
Yeah, it's like,
you want to go on a date to the vigil?
yeah, it's like you could just go out to dinner or something. You don't have to like go and to pay tribute to to fallen townspeople is not a date. But
contrary to popular belief.
So the so at this vigil, it's very strange because Phantom Killer shows up, and it's like, oh well, maybe maybe this is him, or maybe it's a copycat or something. But it's like maybe he was trying to kill someone here, and it was just a botched thing because this is a copycat, so he might be an idiot, So I don't know. Like someone shows up at this vigil as the Phantom Killer, and then like a Marine just pulls out a gun and shoots him, and then is like just gives himself up for arrest. And it's like, no, you did this town a favor by killing this guy. I don't think you would get arrested for that. I think that goes along the lines of self-defense.
Yeah.
And we get this like kind of montage where the whole town is getting word that the Phantom Killer is dead. And it's like this weird party.
This rich people party. I didn't know they had that here.
It's like the 1% of Texarkana are at this party. They're see, these people aren't at the vigil.
The elite.
Yeah. And they're like, the Phantom Killer was shot. It's time to celebrate. And
celebrate with some upbeat jazz music.
But before that, they have to lead it in prayer.
Yeah. And then a very awkward prayer too. I don't remember what they said exactly. I just know that very awkward.
you could tell it's someone who doesn't pray often because it's just like, thank you God for keeping us safe.
Yeah.
And then this random rich woman is like, I'm gonna count down the band. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they just start playing.
And those two guys that were in the band even made fun of her for doing that too.
Yeah. So this is part 1 of what I think is an ongoing trend in this movie from here on. So Lone Wolf is now watching on the dreaded Sundown from 1976. Okay.
Huh.
So let's keep in mind that movie is an hour and a half long. Okay. There's probably about maybe 40 minutes left in this movie that spans over the course of a month. Okay. So why is he constantly watching this movie? Like every time we see him from here on out,
does he just keep stopping
it? I don't understand, because the movie is only an hour and a half long, and he's watching it like he's watching Twin Peaks or something like that. Like he needs to investigate every little nook and cranny of that movie to get to the bottom of who the Phantom Killer is. And it's like the movie is not what you need to look at. You need to look at like the real evidence that you have in front of you,
Yeah.
not this movie that's based off of the original killings. He's watching it like it's Twin Peaks, and it makes no sense. I don't know, that bothered me.
Yeah, you're right.
More than I probably should. So anyway, at this rich party, we meet Johnny and Roy, who are some more characters who we meet just to have them killed. Moments later. This time, instead of going to Makeout Reef, they go to Makeout Junkyard.
Yep. Still,
And-
even though they said that the killer was killed, I don't think it's a good idea to go here right now.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like after this happened, like you'd still be on edge for like a year or so before
Yeah.
you're alone or whatever.
Not these guys, though.
But this really comes out of nowhere because they're just sitting in this junkyard, and the one guy is like, "You want to suck it?" And it just comes out of nowhere because I think at first glance, I think we're supposed to think that they're friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I was catching those glimpses while they were blowing their instruments, so I don't think they were just.
Okay. Okay, I didn't catch that. So apparently, they want to do more than blow instruments tonight. But
Well, unfortunately, that doesn't happen.
but the Phantom Killer has other plans because he shows up. So it's funny because they have a convertible, and
That's like the smallest convertible I've ever seen in life.
And they see the killer, and it's Roy who's driving, and Johnny's in the passenger seat. So Roy like starts driving away and just gets like whacked in the head with something and passes out. And as he's driving, Johnny jumps out of the car.
He said drive, and then immediately leaves the car.
Yeah, it's so strange, but
yeah.
And then
I guess it's a good idea when there's only one killer, but I guess this was our first hint that there's more than one.
Yeah, but Johnny jumps out of the car and he gets knocked unconscious too. And I guess there's like amusement park letters in this junkyard because the Phantom is like spelling out words in this junkyard.
Spelling out stuff that nobody's gonna see.
He wrote Phantom.
Unless you have an airplane shot.
Yeah, I don't know. He wrote Phantom and Legacy, and I'm not sure if there was like a full sentence to that, but those are the only two words that I figured out.
Same.
And he has Roy on top of the some sort of platform, and Johnny is on the ground, and Roy ends up waking up, and then he sees Johnny down there, and then as Johnny is crawling toward him, the Phantom Killer shoots him. And then I guess the Phantom Killer is like, "Oh, I'm finally going to start paying tribute to this original guy, so let me just pull out this trumpet and kill this guy."
Gotta get that trumpet scene again.
But it's like, where did this trumpet come from? Because in the original, I think the person who gets killed by the trumpet like had a trumpet handy. Oh wait, these guys were in the band. That's where it came from. Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense now.
Maybe that's why he decided to pay tribute. He's like, "Oh, I have a trumpet right here. I might as well get creative."
Yeah.
And copy someone.
I thought something just clicked in him, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to start paying tribute now, so let me go buy this trumpet." But no, it was Johnny and Roy. So it's very similar to the original killing, where he kind of just it's a knife at the end of the trumpet and starts playing it. Probably my favorite kill from the original one, and probably my favorite from this one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we find out after they died that man that came to the vigil was a suicidal teen dressed up as the Phantom.
Yeah, which also doesn't make sense because
Why?
at the end of the movie, there were two killers anyway.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, like, they turn on each other. So maybe it's like, oh, Corey was the killer, and he's an idiot, so he just botched this attempt, and now from this point on, it's the chief deputy.
Yeah.
Maybe we do something like that.
Yeah, that
But-
would have been better.
But yeah, it was like a suicide attempt that this guy just wanted to be shot down by the police, and this was his way of doing it. So anyway, Lone Wolf is still watching this movie.
It's been like
um,
2 months.
Yeah, and the deputy that he's working with, I think it's Tillman. He's talking to Lone Wolf Morales, and he's like, I just did the hardest thing I had to do. I told those kids' parents that they didn't suffer and they died before the worst of it. And it's
And then
like, yeah, he's like, well, they were crying, so I know that they actually suffered, but I told their parents that they didn't. Which, a good move.
Yeah.
And the so this is Lone Wolf Morales's big reveal from watching this movie repeatedly over the course of a month. He realized that the next killing in the movie is a double homicide in a farmhouse. And then Tillman is like, well, every house here is a farmhouse because we live in Texas. So
Yeah. And then it just like jumps to the next scene.
yeah. There is a cool transition. It's one of my favorite scenes in the original film where it's the narrator talking, and they play the scene from the original movie where it's like, Texarkana was normal during the day, but everyone dreaded sundown or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that line in the original.
I love the original movie.
Just the title of these two movies, like, I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
And watching this makes me appreciate the original one even more because
Yeah.
I'm aware of how bad things could be. So we cut to Jamie and Nick, who are sitting in the car, which is what they shouldn't do. Jamie, what movie was this that we talked about recently? Where it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it's like, I should have died in the school shooting, but here Jamie is like, well, my parents died in a car accident, and I should have died with them, so death is following me. And
awful.
There's I was actually cracking up because, like, you can see in the distance, I mean, not even in the distance, but you can see out of the window of the car that there's a dead end sign right in front of the car.
Oh, so they thought that they were doing something there.
Yeah, they thought they were being symbolic with this. She's like, oh, death is following me. And then there's a dead end sign right outside the car.
They should have just focused on the sign.
I was like, this is not as clever as you think it is.
No. Not at all. I wish they would have zoomed in on the sign when she said it.
Yeah, they should have. And then Nick takes this upon himself to make a move, and then is shut down and immediately kicked out of the car. And it's like, you know what's going on. You know the killer is not dead. Why are you kicking this kid out of the car?
Because there was no time to make a move.
But then, like, a few minutes later in the movie, she's like, I'm sorry for kicking you out of the car, making you walk home.
Yeah, I saw. I was confused because they were, like, talking in the next scene, like, nothing happened.
So what happens is it's a time jump. So now this movie becomes a Christmas film. So you heard it here. On your letterbox list when you're putting Christmas movies on there, you better put The Town That Dreaded Sundown on there too, because
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch this again.
this is a Christmas film. So add this to your holiday watch list. So, the cops finally have some sort of evidence to finally do something in this movie. They don't even say how they figured it out, but they just blame the Reverend Cartwright for for writing the email. And they're like, "Look,
I don't know
we
why it took so long.
know, but they're like, look, we know you're not the killer, but we also know that you're a weirdo. So you sent this email."
Mm-hmm.
And
And his reasoning behind it was something about his church has been more full now than it has ever been, and people are going to the Lord
yeah,
during these times.
and he also says, "quote The killer is doing the Lord's work." And it's
Yep.
like, what?
Yep,
What?
he did say that too.
What?
Is it because they're all hooking up and they're not married, or something stupid like that?
That might be it, because there is like that undertone of like premarital sex.
Yeah.
Like anyone who has premarital sex is getting killed.
And then the two guys hooked up.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Reverend is trash,
Yeah.
and they arrested him. But the one
Yeah.
cop was like upset over it. Like he's so upset he has to go to the bar on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
He
and
had to arrest the rest of the guy over an email.
he's like bragging about it, and I guess that is good enough to get this girl to come home with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I arrested this pastor in town for sending an email.
It was like it's like dwelling over it, but I don't know if he was fake dwelling,
Yeah, I don't know.
drowning his sorrows, but bragging. And then the woman's very impressed by it.
Yeah. But before I forget, there's a brief scene of Nick and Jamie. This is where they apologize to each other. And it's like somehow 2 months later, they finally found out that the director of the original movie, his son still lives in town and he's still alive. And the director actually died in 2010. And almost certain that if if he was still alive when this movie was made, they probably would have put him in here.
Yeah.
But they were like, "Oh, he died 4 years ago. Let's put his son in here instead."
This movie's time frame's messy too,
Yeah,
because they're like doing this research, but it takes them a month to find stuff out.
yeah, like the most basic information. Like
That's something you could find with a Google search or two.
even in 2014, you could do that. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
let me see where so and so lives. Oh,
I'm like, oh, the last I've heard, they resided here.
it's like, oh, the director of the original film. Oh, he stayed in Texarkana till his death. Oh, his son's name is this. Let me go to Google, look up his son's name. Oh, he lives here too. There
Mm-hmm.
it is. And there it is.
Find them on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, like, oh, he has a Twitter. Let me just tweet him real quick. Hey, are you in town? But anyway, yeah, the police officer who's upset is they're like, this girl's making up for all of his problems because she's real impressed and she's going down on him.
And ironically enough, she's going down at a farmhouse.
Yeah. There's this weird shot where it looks like the cop is about to grab a gun, but he grabs
Yeah,
grabs his beer instead.
I
And
was
it's
like,
like,
oh, are we getting Spring Breakers roleplay?
I didn't know if we were doing that or if we were like kind of like hinting that, oh, he's gonna kill this girl. Either way, it's just over real quick. Like he doesn't grab the gun and then it's just over with.
Yeah.
And it's like, what was the point of that? But speaking of guns, the Phantom Killer shoots him in the eye, through the window, very similar to the original film.
The same house too.
Yeah, this shot is like identical to the original film. Um, the girl notices what's going on.
They could have done that upstairs.
You got to do it in front of a big a big window without your curtains closed. Yeah, so the girl ends up like running into the field and very like you could have taken the original scene and just placed it here. That's how similar it is.
Yeah.
They're going in different directions. We talked about this earlier, where she sees the scarecrow and it has like it looks similar to the Phantom Killer. She screams, and that's how he finds her.
Yeah, this whole scene almost felt like it was grabbed from a different movie, or was grabbed from like this is the first thing they ever shot for this movie.
Yeah.
And then they changed direction right after. Because she dies, and then they showed like she was in the neighbor's field.
Yeah.
And they were leaving to go to church, and they see her. And then we saw that transition with the original movie being filmed at that house.
Yeah.
And it's like the same window and everything.
Yeah, you're right that this feels like it's a totally different movie because
I really like that whole sequence.
Yeah. The only other time I think I remember them doing it, and I couldn't tell, is during the trumpet scene. Because I think there's a shot of the original killer, like the original shot from the original movie placed in there.
Yeah.
But I'm not I couldn't tell you 100% because the killers look almost identical.
Yeah.
But I think it looked like they took a shot from the original one and placed it there. But yeah, this is the only time we actually see like the production crew of the original film like doing the movie and everything. And yeah,
That's so annoying.
It feels like it's ripped from a better movie.
Yeah, that we'll never see.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that cool transition shot, and then we cut to Jamie and Nick going to the director, Charles Pierce Jr., who is the director's son, and he has to be the only person in the world with a shrine to the town that dreaded Sundown.
Yeah.
He's going on. He's like, oh, my dad would have been famous if he went to Hollywood, but he wanted to stay in town. And so your dad did make like 10 movies, so he wasn't like no scrub or anything. Like he actually was pretty successful, and especially like the town that dreaded Sundown is a very good horror film. So like,
I think this was Dennis O'Hare. He's probably the best actor in the movie. He's an American Horror Story regular, so it makes sense for him to be here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's like if you make one successful movie, like I would consider you a success, but he's like, oh, my dad was a failure because he didn't go to Hollywood.
Yeah, I would have considered that successful too, especially they watch his movie every year.
Yeah. So Charles tells them about Hank McCready, who was the final and forgotten victim of the original Phantom Killer. I guess the idea was that it took place in Arkansas and not on the Texas side. It was a body that was like worked up by the train tracks, which makes sense because in the original film they lost him at the train tracks.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, he like moved to the Arkansas side, and things went south there, and he found someone and killed them too. But I guess while the Arkansas side found the body of Hank McCready, the Texas side was arresting Benjamin Sewell. And they just ran with the story like, oh, we found the killer. It's this guy, instead of like, oh, the killer's over there now and he got another victim. Kind of like Damage Control, I guess, where it's
it's like sloppy place where we just want to get rid of it.
Yeah. Um. So Charles has this theory that Hank McCready's grandson is the killer, because I guess his family was kind of hurt that his legacy was not included with the Phantom Killer, which
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it, but I don't at the same time, because it's like, do you really want your family to be known as like, oh, that my grandfather was killed by the Phantom Killer? But
Yeah.
so I guess Charles talked to Mary McCready, who was Hank's mother, I think. Is that who it was?
Oh yeah. Remember Mary or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. And I guess she said that her grandson would make Texarkana pay for its sins. And then I mean, I guess we could kind of spoil it now because it is coming back to me before I forget. But
Mm-hmm.
Hank McCready is actually Deputy Tillman, who is revealed at the end in about 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, the movie's almost over.
Yeah. So I only thought of it now because I was going to say this plot goes nowhere, but then I remembered that quick line. It came back to me. So anyway, Lone Wolf is on the news, and keep in mind that this cop who was shot in the head. Keep in mind what he was doing when he was shot.
Yeah.
Lone Wolf's line is, "It's always hard to lose an officer in the line of duty." And is that what you want to call it?
Like, we gotta have this cover up story because he's hooking up. Yeah, this police officer is actually worse than the new Halloween timeline. It's the police officer that doesn't do anything.
Oh yeah, that sheriff who does
The one
absolutely
with the
nothing.
hat that sits on the stairs and contemplates
Who does nothing for
where
2
this
movies.
town contemplates where this town has gone, and
Yeah,
then you just don't see him.
it's been 2 movies and he's done absolutely nothing. So, I don't know. I feel like we're kind of just rushing toward the end point at this point of the movie. It's kind of dumb because Jamie,
they were on a budget, and they're like,
yeah,
we ran out of money, so now we got to finish.
pretty much. Jamie is randomly moving to California now because her grandma's like, look, you need to get out of town and all this and that. I was trying to find the budget real quick, but I can't find it on IMDb. I can't find it anyway. Yeah, she's moving to California, and then her and Nick kind of have this brief scene where it's like, hey, I'm moving out of town tomorrow. We need to hook up before I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. So Nick leaves in the middle of the night. This kill was actually pretty cool too. I totally forgot about it until now. He left in the middle of the night, and he's like walking through like sensor lights, I think. It kind of reminded me of Halloween, speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like he's walking through these motion sensor lights, and they're going out and coming on. And then just in one random shot, it's a close up on the Phantom Killer's face, and he gets killed. So Nick is not the killer. And then we cut to Jamie leaving town. It's this like brief scene where she's like, I have information on Hank McCready. Like, I think his grandson might be the killer, and all this and that. So this scene was weird because I guess the Phantom Killer was following her out of town.
Yeah.
Because they stop at a gas station, and like Jamie goes in to get food or something. And keep in mind, it's like 2 a.m. or something.
Mhm.
She goes in the gas station to get something, and she hears gunshots. And she comes outside, and she sees like one of the workers is shot, and her grandma was shot in the neck, and they're dying. So I guess the Phantom was like shooting from a window or something.
Yeah. No, I don't know why he had to follow her out of town if she's leaving. Like, why can't he just continue doing what he's doing without her there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I
Because
mean,
she's not anybody.
I think it's
Because I know
because
they were trying to frame her.
yeah, I think that's why, because they tried to frame. I mean, I guess we can kind of spoil it now, but um, Deputy Tillman is like he kills. So Corey comes back. Deputy Tillman then kills Corey again, and he's like, I'm gonna kill him, and I'm gonna kill you, and it'll be like this couple who committed these crimes, and one of them faked his death, and I guess that's what we're doing. Um, yeah, I honestly don't know. Other than that, because I guess Deputy Tillman might need her here to still connect her to the killings, because I guess even though she's been watched by police for the past 2 months, we're still trying to frame her for it somehow.
Yeah, she had people following her everywhere she went. The cops were always wherever she was.
Yeah,
And he's a cop.
that's literally the only thing I could think of. Other than that, it makes no sense. But um, so I guess Jamie runs away from the Phantom, and then he chases her, and it's still like that Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees walk that he shouldn't be doing, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not his thing. And she goes into it.
As soon
So
as when
she,
he pulls out that bow and arrow.
yeah, and she goes into the train station, and there's just a gun on the floor, and it's like who, like whose gun is this? Who just left their gun on the on the train station floor?
Was it his?
I don't know. Because there's a line earlier by Lone Wolf where he says like the Phantom Killer doesn't make any mistakes, so I don't think he would just leave his gun sitting around. I don't know.
I guess technically he's not the Phantom Killer because he's trash.
Yeah, I guess. Nevertheless, she found a gun. um, and then the Phantom calls her from Corey's phone, and her phone rings, and that's why you always leave your phone on vibrate, because you're being
Yes.
chased. You're being chased. No one could call you, but well, they can call you, but you can't hear it. So the Phantom hears her phone ringing and finds her, and then she finds Nick's body on the train tracks, which is similar to how Hank McCready was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so the Phantom like hunts her down, and he shoots her with bow and arrows. And then she's on the ground, and when we see her on the ground, we see another Phantom Killer come out. So this is like the big reveal that we've been talking about, where there's two of them.
I was so annoyed. I was like, really? They had to do this?
Yeah. It makes things too obvious, because I think it's more scary when it's like, oh, there was only one, and he happened to be doing all because he happened to be doing all
Yeah.
this because he's a genius. And when there's
They're
two of
trying to give their best scream, but it wasn't working.
yeah, when there's two of them, it kind of takes away from the mystique behind this killer, because I like the idea of just like one killer who's just this really smart guy who just happened to outsmart this entire town. But when you have
Yeah.
two of them, it takes it away a little bit. So anyway, it's revealed that the deputy is the killer, and Corey is the other killer, and Corey faked his death and used a runaway's body up his face and placed 2 of his teeth with with him, and somehow he was able to trick this entire town into thinking that he was dead. I also want to point out that it's actually Deputy Foster who is the killer, not Deputy Tillman. Even though we've been saying Tillman for the past hour, it is Deputy Foster. But
Fine too.
I don't know. This town is just stupid.
I'm
So
gonna assume that the other teeth were missing in action.
maybe, but so I guess Deputy Foster's idea is to just frame Corey and Jamie for being the killers. So he shoots Corey and attacks Jamie, and it's like, well, if they were the killers, how did they get killed? You know, like that doesn't make sense.
I wish they turned on each other and shot at the same time. No, I wish Corey would have been a bigger role, since they were going to reveal him as the killer.
Yeah. Or the cop could have been someone that we recognized instead of just, oh, it's him. And I don't know who that is.
Because at first, I didn't even recognize either one of them. I'm like, who are these people? I need... And I was like, wait, I thought he died.
Yeah, because they play such small roles, and then it's like, oh, they're the killers. Like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it's strange because in every other movie where you have to guess the killer, and I didn't even know this movie was going to turn into that, because I usually like those, but each character is usually relevant.
Like in Valentine, we knew the killers. Like in Scream 5, we spend most of the movie with the killers.
And then My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, and then here it's just like,
oh, you hear these random side characters nobody cares about.
That guy from that one scene 75 minutes ago, it's him.
That's why they should have been like, it could have been Nick and then somebody else.
Yeah.
And it could have been a little better.
Yeah, so...
it was too late to fix the movie, though.
Yeah. So Deputy Foster, he tries to attack Jamie. Jamie, who has the gun, ends up shooting him and killing him, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
no big payoff or anything. We do get this terrible voiceover to end the film.
Yeah.
Kind of just wrap things up a little bit. The voiceover even says that Corey and Deputy Foster had nothing in common. Because as the audience, it's like, why would they do that? Like, why would them two be in cahoots? And the movie
I can't even remember. What were Corey's motives even?
I couldn't tell you. I don't think his are even given. Deputy Foster is revealed to be Hank McCready's grandson.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, it's just nothing. Yeah, and like the voiceover is like, as audience, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. They're 2 random people. And then in the voiceover, the movie is like, they had nothing in common except for the darkness in their hearts. And that was enough to bring them together to commit these crimes.
Yeah.
And then Jamie does go to California to go to college, and the final shot
wanted.
Yeah. And the final shot is her walking down a hallway, and you could see the shadow of the Phantom behind her. And that's how it ends.
Something we didn't need.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, that's yeah, it's not good. That's all I'll say, is that it's not good. Yeah, so that was The Town That Dreaded Sundown from 2014. Some good things and a lot of bad things. Just just an all around missed opportunity, I think, because it is a nice idea to kind of like the whole half reboot, half sequel thing is a good idea. It's
Yeah,
just
they
not.
just didn't perform it well,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all I have for that.
I think they should have had a better lead role too.
Yeah, I do think if you are going to watch one of these movies, you're much better off watching the original and just leaving it at that, because
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil the ending of that movie, but like the ending is much better to that
that
movie.
one just feels so unique too, like we
Yeah.
said earlier, because it was like a crime western horror mix.
Yeah, because that movie took place before Halloween came out. Like that movie was made before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if it was post Halloween, it would have been just like a generic slasher.
Yeah,
But like at that point, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Black Christmas came out, but slashers weren't that as prominent as they were in the 80s.
yeah,
So it came out at like the perfect time to not be swept up in that slasher genre. And unfortunately, that's what this one does. So,
mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I think that's all I got for this movie. Do you have anything else?
No, not really.
Would you like to jump into our recommendations?
Mm-hmm.
It's time to recommend some things you and me were recommending.
All right. You can go first.
Well, this week I went to the movies and I saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2,
Ooh.
and it was brilliant. Now, I don't know if it's brilliant because I liked the games as a child. It was just like a really fun movie. Even the human characters didn't take away from the plot. They were funny.
Okay.
I think it's... Hold on, what else did I see this year? I was going to say, that movie's probably the funniest movie I've seen this year, with X
Oh yeah.
and
Previous episode.
Everything Everywhere All at Once was funny too in parts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I love the movie.
it was great. It's really, I don't know how to explain it, just that, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I want to see it, so don't spoil too much.
Yeah.
But,
Jim Carrey's in it again. Does great.
okay. Yeah, I do want to see it
Surprisingly.
eventually.
It's like, he was Riddlerish. That's probably why I liked it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, movie's full of likable characters and it's fun.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
We need lighthearted movies every now and then, and it's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I agree. I have not seen any new movies pretty much. I've just rewatched movies for the podcast recently.
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched Batman yesterday. That was pretty good. I guess a movie I saw a few weeks ago called Tourist Trap from 1979. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a ripoff of Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's like this these people break down and they come across a museum that is run by this like weird guy who has like these weird mannequins,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's like a cheesy 70s slasher with like, I mean, if you look at the poster, that's pretty much Leatherface on the poster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's nothing great, but I thought it was pretty fun. So yeah, it's called Tourist Trap.
Tourist Trap.
I do want to do that on an episode sometime, so I don't want to spoil too much of it.
Okay.
So I'm stretching. So next week, you are going to be out of town for most of the week. So do you want to take the week off next week, and then we'll come back the week after?
We can. I probably will be here Saturday.
Okay. Well, one or the other. If we don't have an episode next week, then that's what happens. Steven was out of town. If
We'll have a surprise drop.
Yeah. If not, we'll be back the following week. Let me look at the calendar.
We should do a proper spring slasher movie and do like The Strangers or something.
That's what I was actually going to pick for the next one too. But we did have that schedule for a little bit where we were going to do The Evil Dead, Friday the 13th, the 13th, and Star Wars.
Yeah, so that's May.
So if we come back next week, we're going to do The Strangers. If we don't
I almost
come back,
picked that.
probably should have.
I was like, let me choose The Town Dread Sundown because I didn't see it, and he said it was decent, so I'll probably like it. And
we both didn't like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan. If we come back next week, we're going to do The Strangers. If we don't come back, we're going to be back in 2 weeks doing The Evil Dead. That's the plan.
And The Strangers is actually, it could fit with a summer movie too. I'm pretty sure it's springtime, summertime.
Yeah.
Vacation vibes.
And when I tell you no movie has scared me more than The Strangers, I'm not kidding. That movie was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, that I would. Even the second one, I was anxious the whole time. I'm like, oh my god, I hate this type of movie where everyone's being chased. But it's the original one that has a different vibe because they feel stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not as stuck in the trailer park, but yeah.
It's that one and then Black Christmas, the original.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Just sense of I'm stuck. I don't know. I don't have anywhere else to go.
Regardless of if we do it or not, I'm still gonna watch The Strangers now because you got me in the mood to watch that. Yeah, so I think that's all I got for this episode. Unfortunately, it's a movie that we both did not enjoy as much as we hoped. But
yeah, it made me appreciate the original much more too.
Yeah, that's the positive that we'll take out of this.
And there was that field scene and the transition with them filming. Oh, I'm so mad.
Yeah.
Because that should have been the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's unfortunate. So, you can follow us on Instagram at Santamira After Dark. You can follow us on Twitter at Santamira ADPod. And through there, you can find our personal social media accounts. And I think that's all I got.
Yeah. Oh, nope. Curfew is now in session. And then we'll let that rock song play. So.